Hey everyone, Caseyscanlon here, bringing you another Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. It's the first week of April, and a lot has changed since the last report. The last time that I got on here, the fish were full-blown pre-spawn. They were feeding really heavily, and if you caught them on the right day or had the right timing, I mean, you could have some really big bags. There was, a couple week time period there where catching 20 pounds was kind of the norm. A lot of big pre-spawn females up there feeding. And, I was utilizing my Garmin live scope. We were fishing jerkbaits, A-rigs, experiment with that Damiki rig a little bit. A jig was good, but overall that jerkbait and the A-rig were pretty dominant there for a few weeks. But now we're kind of getting more into spring. The water temps in the 50s. And so, the fish are really starting to think about spawning, and the playbook is really opened up. We're getting away from those, real pre-spawn baits like, the A-rig and the jerkbait. And now we can start kind of opening up the tackle box and throwing pretty much everything you got, whether it be a spinnerbait, a crankbait, a chatterbait, a jig, soft plastics, wacky rigs. It's all gonna work now. Even top water bite should be starting. So it's a really fun time of year. There's a lot going on and the fish are changing daily. So last time we talked, it was full-blown pre-spawn. My buddy James and I fished a tournament out of the Gravois there, the Angry Pirate tournament. If you get a chance and you got Tuesdays open, go fish that one. It's pretty fun. Low entry fee, good group of guys, and the fishing's usually pretty good on a Tuesday. But we had there was a couple good bags in that tournament, but we had like 23 pounds, caught most of them on a jerkbait, and we had like a full moon. The fish were feeding, and the fish were just pre-spawn looking around. And now, a lot of these fish since that time period, the water levels dropped. We've had a ton of fluctuation in the water level, and that's had the fish and the bait fish on the move quite a bit. So, just staying up with the lake level, the lake conditions is really been the key. So, with the water level up, typically the fish like to get a little bit shallower. They feel more comfortable up shallower, and since they've dropped it out, I've noticed the lake level's been like coming up maybe 6-8 inches a day and then falling back out, even throughout the course of the same day. So it's constantly moving lately. A lot of generation through the dam, which puts these fish around points, but it gets them kind of in limbo where they're going back and forth, especially when they want to spawn. They want to move up shallow and then they drop that water and it kind of pulls them back out. So it's been making the fishing a little bit difficult here in the last week or so. But, basically fish were in pre-spawn, and now they're wanting to really push up there towards the bank. The only thing keeping them really from flooding up on the bank is just the inconsistency in the water level and the weather. So we've had really good weather days followed by some really terrible weather days. Last few days have been cold, really, really windy, and we had some rain, a lot of rain, which dirtied up the lake. We've been seeing pretty clear water conditions throughout the lake, and we've got a lot of color in the water now, which is gonna bring me to, my favorite time of the year, and that's dirty water, spinnerbaits, crankbaits, reaction baits. You can throw some of those brighter colors, and it's really gonna, again, help open up that playbook a little bit, spread these fish out, spread the fishermen out, and hopefully, that dirtier water usually gets some of these bigger fish up closer to the bank and makes them easier to catch, especially as we get closer to the spawn here. These fish are gonna be looking for that last meal before they go on to beds and start reproducing. So, Trophy Bass Company spinnerbait, anytime the water temperature's in the 50s, this is a killer. So this is gonna be good for the next couple months. After the spawn here, we're gonna get a shad spawn, and that's gonna be a killer again. So I got a small swim bait on the back of here. A ton of people ask me if I throw a trailer on my spinnerbait, and yes, sometimes I do, but I'd say most of the time when I'm catching fish on a spinnerbait, it's just, a straight up spinnerbait. just like this, Trophy Bass Company, Ozark Flash with without much of a trailer. Sometimes I throw a little split tail trailer on there, and usually I don't throw a trailer hook if I can get away with it. But you know, got a natural color here, more whitish blades, and then I got a little bit more gaudy. The white and chartreuse is typically the one I throw most of the time, regardless of the water clarity. But you know, the spinnerbait ought to be really kicking off. Anytime we get some color in the water, or even when it's clear, crankbait's gonna be good. You know, these reddish colors are always good in the springtime. You can throw some chartreuse colors in there as well. I love a little bit brighter color like that, especially, you know, in dirty water or maybe some of these overcast days. And then clear water conditions, you know, you can throw something a little more of that, you know, green pumpkin hue, something a little more natural. So experiment with your crankbait colors based on water clarity. And of course, based on depth, you're gonna want to, you know, change up your crankbait. You know, anything from a square bill crankbait that's gonna dive 1, 2, 3, 4 foot. Flat-sided crankbaits are working, and you know, your rock trawler or wiggle wart style crankbaits for that 6, 8, 10 foot would be perfect. So, you know, this time of year I'm gonna have 3 or 4 crankbaits tied on. I got them usually on 12-pound Bass Pro Shops fluorocarbon line, especially for the baits that are diving down there, touching the bottom, you know, that I'm trying to achieve a little bit more depth out of. If I'm wanting the bait to run shallow, you know, like a square bill, back of the pockets kind of thing, excuse me, I'm gonna throw, you know, more like 17 to 20 pound line to keep that bait up high in the water column. Chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, also gonna throw that 17 to 20 pound line. You're throwing those around, you know, logs, cables, boat docks, and you're typically throwing them up shallow. So the bigger line is key to getting those fish in the boat and resisting getting hung up and broke off on a big piece of cover like a cable or a lay down or something like that. So as always, the jig bite is going to be good. 45-degree banks, channel banks, fish it around any kind of cover you see in these pockets. You know, some of these shallower boat docks are going to start in the pockets are going to start being good, but the jig is just a bait. This is my Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig, 3/8 ounce. Got a little round rubber jig skirt that I tied on the jig there, excuse me, and just a little crawdad trailer, green pumpkin, brown, black and blue, something pretty simple, something natural is gonna get the job done this time of year. I got it on anywhere from 17 to 20 pound fluorocarbon line from Bass Pro Shops. And that is a Johnny Morris Signature Series, 7'2", medium heavy. I like that. Little bit lighter rod on my like 3/8 ounce, 5/16 ounce jigs, especially if I'm gonna throw like 17 to 14 to 12 pound line. When I'm bumping the line size up and getting to a heavier jig, I'm gonna throw more of a heavy action rod, but I've always got that on a high speed gear ratio reel. This is the new Carbon Light reel from Bass Pro Shops, and man, been super impressed with this thing. As you can see, it's very small, sleek, low profile, casts great, and it only weighs like 6 ounces, which is really great. When you pair it with one of these super light Johnny Morris rods, it just makes it easy to fish all day, and you can feel those really light bites, which is key with the jig. They're biting it super light right now. They're just picking it up, carrying it off. So you really got to watch the line and be, pay attention to what you're doing out there. Pay attention to the bites and what your jig's doing on the bottom. If you just don't feel that jig and it gets heavy on you, chances are a fish has got it and he's swimming off with it. So be ready when you're fishing that jig. Of course, the jerkbait's working, variety of colors. You know, with the water clarity the way that it is right now, really a lot of color in the water throughout the lake. You know, these river and creek arms are going to have a lot of color, but you know, pretty much everywhere from the lower end to the mid lake up around Hurricane Deck has got really good color in the backs of pockets and creeks. There's a lot of flow coming in, you know, a lot of runoff that you can see coming in the back of these pockets, and there should be some fish feeding on that as well, as long as it's not too blown out. But jerkbait's been working, same old stuff. Panoptics, live scope. I've had Garmin so long that I've had the Panoptics, the live scope, had it all. So get confused sometimes, but looking at my Garmin live scope, looking for fish out there on the screen, suspended over cover, looking for fish close to the bank. You know, they're floating everywhere. And if you can catch them in the right mood, you know, throwing that jerkbait over the top of their head can be a really good ticket to catching them and doing well. Pretty much everything is working right now. We've got your Bass Pro Shops, Stickos, any kind of soft plastic. You know, the wacky rigs are gonna start working here as these fish get closer to spawn. Brush hogs, beavers. There's that Bass Pro Shop Sticko. That's one of my favorite baits there. Green pumpkin, black or blue. Shaky heads are gonna start working. I fished the BFL last weekend, and my girlfriend Haley did awesome, so we'll give her a shout out. She caught her fish on an Alabama rig and a jerkbait. I went down lake, tried to fish an Alabama rig and a jerkbait early, and you know, I didn't get any time on the water last week. I had one guide trip on Wednesday, and it was pretty slow. It was a bad weather day. Caught a 6-pounder on a jig, a few on a crankbait, but that jerkbait bite, A-rig bite, had been getting tougher, and the water level was dropping, so I kind of changed things up. Caught a few keepers in the morning, but I was throwing at a lot of fish on the Garmin Live Scope and not getting them to bite. And rather than chase around a bunch of fish that weren't biting and a bunch of fish that had been there, you know, I've been catching a lot of big stringers, and man, I could tell from what little I had been out on the water that it was pretty tough to catch some of those fish still. A lot of them still in the area. A lot of them moved in some of the places I've been catching them as well, and just didn't have time to quite track them down. So I didn't want to be chasing ghosts all week, or all day rather. So last Saturday we kind of punted after about 10 o'clock maybe. Had 2 or 3 keepers in the live well, then went and threw a crankbait, hit the bank, caught some fish, you know, caught 7 or 8 keepers. Actually had one 6-pounder try to eat the crankbait as I was pulling it out of the water. It had a leaf stuck on it, and I was trying to shake the leaf off of it, and the fish looked like it was gonna eat it anyway, but missed that fish, but it gave me confidence to keep throwing it. Unfortunately, I didn't get any other big bites, but it just shows you that you kind of things are changing. You can do a lot of different things right now to catch fish, whether it be fishing on the main lake, on points, or way in the backs of creeks and coves. The fish are doing a little bit of everything. You can throw everything from a jig to a spinnerbait to a crankbait to a jerkbait and be successful right now. But these main lake and secondary points with the current that they've been having go through the lake should be good. You know, a lot of staging fish going to be on those. Going to be a lot of fish trying to work their way in the backs of pockets. Of course, we've had a lot of rain this week, so those are dirty right now. Got some runoff, which might be a good thing. You know, I had a guide trip yesterday, and I'm getting ready to go on one right now. And you know, fishing was still kind of tough. They were spread out. Crankbait, spinnerbait was kind of our primary deal, but things are changing every day. You got to stay on your toes. The water temperature is going to keep climbing up there. Looks like we got a new moon kind of approaching, so that's going to push some fish up shallow, make them want to spawn. But overall, the fish are spreading out. Water conditions are changing. We've got a lot of color in the lake now, which is really going to help kind of get some of those big ones up shallow, I hope. So fishing should be good. We've got the Big Bass Bash coming up, and you know, that usually falls right there when the fish are up on the bank and the fishing is good. So should be a lot of fish caught in that event. I've got pretty full schedule the next couple weeks as far as guiding and tournaments go. But if you want to go out on a trip, if you want to catch some fish, you know, May is a great time to go. I've got some openings in May, got a lot of openings in June as well. 2 of my favorite months to get out there and catch some fish. So call me, send me a message if you guys want to get out there on the water and please be sure to go check out all my sponsors. I've got a lot of them listed on the description in this video. But if you need some batteries, wholesale batteries are your guys. Expion 360 lithiums have been really good for me this year. Been running them on my Garmins, and man, I've got a dedicated lithium, 95 amp hour lithium to my units right now. And I've been running over 13 volts and getting a crystal clear picture all day. So been loving that, that change from last year. But go check out wholesale batteries, Bass Pro Shops, of course. You know, whether you need a nitro boat, whether you need some Bass Pro Shops fluorocarbon or rod or reel, or any of their new XPS baits, which are awesome. Been throwing the Chatter Bomb, been throwing the Comeback Shad swim bait, a lot of different baits from them. Of course, your Stickos and all your standard soft plastics. Go check those guys out. They help support me. And, you know, Russell Marine Products, another great company. They, if you need your boat rigged up, if you need to buy a boat, if you need, you know, just to buy some electronics or some advice, motor cover, these guys are the best. They're some of my best friends, and they take care of me well. So be sure to check those guys out. If you need something, call me if you need a guide trip, and good luck on your next fishing excursion. The lake should be getting really good in the next few weeks, and man, these fish are ready to spawn. Bite should be good. So good luck to all you guys fishing out there, and good luck to you guys in the Big Bass Bash.